Hello everyone, I'm Breakup Brad, and this video is for anybody who wants to know if your ex will take you back. So if you want to know, what signs to look for that suggest there's still a good chance that your ex will come back to you, or maybe you're worried that, your ex is slipping away and you want to confirm whether or not it's time to truly give up hope. But whatever the case is for you, hopefully you'll get some answers in the next few minutes as I go through the 12 most common signs that your ex wants you back. Before we begin, in case you're new to my channel, I'm Brad Browning, also more commonly known as Breakup Brad, and I'm a breakup coach and best-selling author. Over the past 13, 14 years or so now, I've been helping people from around the world get back together with their ex or get through a tough breakup. All right, let's dive into sign number 1 that your ex wants you back, which is that your ex is still clearly upset and emotional. This is one of the most common signs that your ex isn't over you. If your ex is, very obviously emotionally distraught after the breakup, if they're posting sad quotes or lyrics on social media, crying to their friends about their heartache, or outright telling you directly that they're struggling to live without you, then that is an obvious sign this breakup hasn't been easy for them and that they may cave in to those feelings, and take you back. The more heartbroken and upset that your ex seems, especially if it continues for weeks after the initial breakup, the stronger this sign is for your chances of getting them back. All right, now sign number 2, your ex is sending mixed messages or is acting very hot and cold. Now, this is a super common one that many of my clients experience. Basically, if your ex appears to be, sending you really mixed signals, if they're texting you saying they miss you one day and then being really, cold and unfriendly the next day, or even just completely ignoring you at times and then suddenly being, really affectionate, well, that kind of thing is a strong indication that they might be having second thoughts about breaking up. And in fact, it's probably one of the single biggest indicators that he or she does want you back. Now, the reason that this is such a strong sign is because it clearly shows your ex is still internally conflicted about the breakup. On one hand, they knew and still believe that going your separate ways was the logical, correct path for them moving forward against the breakup. But on the other hand, they still have strong feelings for you and they still miss you and are struggling to just accept that you're just not around anymore. And this is why sometimes, they seem affectionate and maybe downright, keen on taking you back. And then at other times, they're less emotional and more determined to stick with the breakup. All right, now on to sign number 3. Your ex reaches out to you frequently. Obviously, this one is pretty self-explanatory. But if your ex is, frequently texting or calling you, and they don't usually have a real reason to be reaching out when they do contact you, well, that is a great sign for your chances. Now, this is an especially strong indicator if they're initiating the contact regularly, even when you're engaged in a period of no contact and you haven't been making any effort to reach out to them. Now, if you go silent, and rarely or ever engage with them or respond to their calls and texts, and they're still reaching out to you on their own initiative, well, then you have plenty of reason to be optimistic that they're still, at least internally conflicted about whether breaking up was the right choice. Okay, and sign number 4 is when your ex wants to continue to be friends after the breakup. Now, before I explain this one any further, you should know that being your ex's friend after a breakup, especially if you're hoping to get them back, is almost always a bad idea. Now, I've made videos on this in the past, but for now, just know that being in your ex's life, being your ex's friend zone, I should say, is usually bad news for your chances of winning them back. However, if your ex does seem determined to remain friends after the breakup, then especially if they push the idea and seem insistent about keeping a friendship intact right after your breakup, it's a very positive sign. It shows they're not able to handle the idea of you disappearing from their life entirely, and they want to make sure that you're still, around as a backup plan in case they change their mind about breaking up. If your ex didn't care about you at all anymore and was, ready to move on for good, they wouldn't even bother to try to talk you into a friendship. So again, don't agree to be friends or let yourself fall into the friend zone trap. But if your ex is pushing this idea, then it's definitely a good sign that they're not over you yet. Okay, on to sign number 5. Your ex is very flirty or there's a lingering sexual tension. Now, this one also doesn't need much explaining. But if your ex is really flirty after the breakup and continues to flirt with you regularly and persistently when you see them or when you're talking by text or over the phone, well, they probably still want you. Any kind of attraction that your ex has for you, be that emotional or sexual attraction, it is a sign that they may come back to you sooner or later. And the more sexual tension there is between you and your ex after the breakup, the more likely it is that they're still wanting you in their bed. Now, if you do want to get back together with your ex and start over in a real committed relationship with them, then you should normally continue to flirt with your ex, build as much of that sexual tension as possible, and even drop some, steamy hints or innuendos when you're talking to them. But do not let things get physical just yet. This is especially true for women who want to get an ex back, or get their ex-boyfriend back. You really want to withhold sex or any physical intimacy until you get what you really want, which is, of course, an actual romantic relationship, not a one-night stand. Okay, the next sign, number 6, is when your ex gets jealous. Now, this is one of the single biggest and strongest signs that you're going to get your ex back sooner or later. Now, I can't guarantee that, obviously, but if your ex is clearly jealous about who you're seeing since the breakup or what you've been up to, that indicates a clear emotional connection on their part, and it shows that they're absolutely not ready to let you go. While sometimes, your ex can use some self-restraint and willpower to stop themselves from acting on any feelings of jealousy, it's also common for a jealous ex to cave in and, ask to get back together just in order to prevent you from dating somebody new or from slipping out of their life for good. Now, a word of warning, be careful trying to make your ex jealous intentionally. This can be a very, very effective technique to help you get them to come back to you, but it can also backfire badly if you're not careful or you don't use it correctly. And that's why I've actually dedicated an entire section in my best-selling X Factor program to this very topic and how to use what I call covert jealousy to safely win back your ex. Anyway, suffice to say that jealousy is a great indication that your ex will take you back, or at least, that they're not ready to let go of you yet. And along the same lines, sign number 7, your ex intentionally tries to make you jealous. Now, this one, it might sound a bit strange, but think about it this way. If your ex was over you and never coming back, why would they care whether you're jealous or not? If your ex is, being very blatant about the fact that they're with somebody new or dating around, it's because they want you to chase them. Or in rare cases, it's because they're trying to get revenge and hurt you. But either way, it shows that they're still emotionally invested in you. So regardless of whether or not your ex is intentionally trying to make you jealous, you really need to avoid giving them that satisfaction. If you do want them to take you back. So don't cave into your emotions and lash out at them in anger or show any sign that you've been emotionally affected by them dating again or, seeing somebody new since the breakup. Just act like you don't even care and, you don't mention it or ask about who they've been dating. Any discussion about their dating life since the breakup or, anything you might try and do to sabotage it and stop them from seeing other people is just going to make make your situation worse and reduce your chances of actually getting them back. Now, sign number 8 is a bit of an obvious one. Your ex tells you they miss you. Now, so if your ex, does outright tell you that they miss you after the breakup, and especially if they say it, more than once, or if they're really emotional about it, things are obviously looking good for your odds of getting them back. Now, my normal recommendation is, for situations like this, is actually to either ignore the comment altogether, if you're still engaged in your period of no contact, or to reply in such a way that it feels natural, but doesn't specifically say that you miss them as well. So for example, if your ex, texted you and said, "Hey, I miss you. What are you up to lately?" Then you might reply with something like, "Hey there, long time no talk. All good here. Been super busy lately. Heading out with some friends tonight to that new Barbie movie. Let's catch up again soon." Now, your natural reaction to receiving this kind of message from your ex, if you want them back anyway, is to, get overly excited and respond in kind by saying something like, "I miss you so much too." But again, that's not the best way to play things in this kind of situation. You don't want to show any, excitement or react by saying that you miss them too. It's going to be hard. And obviously, hearing your ex say that they miss you is good news for your chances of getting them back. but it's far from a sure thing. And you really do need to not react at all or respond in a calm and level-headed way that doesn't show too much of your own feelings. Okay, let's move on to sign number 9, which is you score higher than 75 on my free quiz. So after this video is over, if you haven't already, go to breakupbrad.com/quiz and take a few minutes to just answer the simple questions there. When you complete the quiz, you'll be shown a score out of 100. Now, if your score on that quiz is below 60, it's game over, and it's probably time to start moving on. If you score between 60 and 75 or so, there's probably still a chance that you'll be able to win them back, but it's not guaranteed, and it's going to take some time and patience to actually make that happen. If you score above 75 though, and things are probably looking good for you, especially if you score over 80, in which case I'd wager that your ex will be coming back to you soon. So go ahead and take that free quiz at breakupbrad.com/quiz. Try it for yourself and see what your score is. All right, and sign number 10 is when your ex brings up happy memories or seems nostalgic for the good old days when you were still together. So maybe your ex, seems to reminisce a lot about happy times you shared together. They bring up, old memories, inside jokes, or just, generally seem nostalgic about your relationship and all the fun times you enjoyed together as a couple. Because when your ex does this kind of thing, it means that they're probably starting to forget about the more negative aspects of you and your relationship. And they're instead fixating on and romanticizing, I should say, some of the good parts of your relationship. Now, this is a natural, hardwired psychological instinct that all humans have. We're really wired to quickly forget about bad memories and romanticize good ones. Usually, according to several studies, this will peak around 30 days after a breakup. That's when your ex will have had enough time to start, forgetting about the reasons they wanted to break up and start longing for the positive aspects of you and your relationship. So the more nostalgic he or she gets, the more they seem to long for these kind of happy times together, the better your chances are of getting them back. Okay, and now let's continue to sign number 11. Your ex is angry at you. Now, I realize that this sounds backwards. On the surface, an angry ex seems like a bad sign for your chances of ever getting them back. And sometimes that is true. It's a bad sign if your ex is angry because, you did something truly terrible to them, cheated on them with their best friend and lied about it or something like that. That's a hurdle that's, going to be difficult to overcome, if not impossible. And it's not the kind of anger you want to see in your ex. But if your ex is angry at you for smaller things, or for no real reason at all, especially if it persists for weeks after breaking up, it's actually typically a positive sign for your chances. And that's because an angry ex is an emotionally invested ex. They haven't fully moved on yet. They still have feelings for you, and the thought of you still provokes strong emotions. Obviously, they'll have to eventually let go of that anger in order for you to get back together and start a new relationship together. But that is usually possible if you do handle things correctly. So I guess, in short, if your ex is angry at you, it could be a great sign, or it could mean you did something really naughty and hurt them. But if you didn't cheat on them or break their heart or anything like that, it's probably the former. It's probably a good sign that they're not over you. All right, and let's finish off with sign number 12. Your ex hasn't found somebody new or started dating again. Now, sometimes, people will take months or even years to get over a breakup and start dating again. But most of the time, in my experience, people who are truly over their ex will be putting themselves out there pretty soon after the breakup. Or at least, hooking up with somebody new for a one-night stand or going on a casual date. So if that doesn't happen, even after a few months apart, it's usually a relatively positive sign for your chances of winning them back. Even if they're open to dating but haven't met anyone yet, that's still a good small piece of good news, because it means that they've been really unable to easily or quickly replace you. And, you remain the easiest, most convenient option for them to quash their loneliness and get all those benefits of being in a relationship. It's obviously painful to learn that your ex is dating again or that they've hooked up with somebody they met at the bar. But by itself, that doesn't usually mean there's no hope of ever getting them back. As I mentioned a minute ago, you can go and take that free quiz at breakupbrad.com/quiz to get a better idea of whether they're gone for good or if there's still a good chance that they'll smarten up and ask you to take them back. All right, folks, that is the 12 signs. I really hope that you've seen at least a couple of these indicators from your ex already. But if not, do at least take the quiz and see what your score is before you give up all hope. And of course, subscribe to my channel for more advice videos like this one. And leave any questions or comments and feedback in the comments below. I will respond to as many as I can. Thanks so much for watching. And I sincerely wish you the very best of luck. I really hope things work out for you. And I'll definitely be rooting for your success. Bye for now.